Great. So, in your statement, you just said that you're trying to redact, commercially sensitive information, which I understand.
Point of order, Chair?
What I do find.
I'm sorry, this is point of order. I'll stop the clock.
Was there any other opening remarks from any?
They haven't signed on yet. We're waiting for them to sign on.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
IT issues. Sorry, go ahead, Mr. Subak.
Thank you very much. And I respect that you're trying to make sure that commercially sensitive information isn't available. What I have found when I've reviewed this agreement, and in fact reviewed other publicly available documents like the CIF agreement 810-819553, which is related to the agreements that we're talking about today, is that the redactions are not consistent. And so what I want to understand is, if you're saying it's commercially sensitive, that's the basis for the redactions, then why is there sort of a lack of consistency between the redactions and the documents? So, for example, in CIF agreement 810-819553, you redacted the costs of the various the funding agreement, but in CIF agreement, the one that we're talking about here, 813-816251, the dollar amounts in fact aren't redacted, and the dollar amounts of the other agreement are in that document. Like amendment number 2 of CIF 816251 puts in the full amount of the $15 billion contribution. So it's not redacted in this document, but it's redacted in another. Can you explain that inconsistency?
A question. I don't have the other agreement that you're referring to with me. However, what I can say is that when we do get a request for documents for committees, in any case, we always approach the companies at the end of the day to make sure that we actually have a process in terms of understanding what they feel is commercially confidential and could be harmful to their competitive position. And we review that with the companies to make sure that in our assessment we also feel that there is some legitimacy to it being commercially confidential. In this case, as I've outlined in the letter to the committee, we feel that the information that is not included or that is redacted, maybe I should phrase it that way, is legitimately commercially confidential. So it's about IP strategies, it's about investments in R&D, investments in CapEx, which could actually give some sense to the competitors and give them some sense of what they're doing and could harm their competitive position. So it's a case-by-case basis. A company may feel over time that it no longer needs to be protected, and that may change. But as we do it on a case-by-case basis with each company.
Sure. Let's say I accept that explanation on CapEx and R&D and other things. But, for example, in the document we're talking about today, 813, CIF agreement 813-816251, you've redacted the provincial funding envelopes. Like, how's that commercially sensitive? Like, you've got the federal CIF and then contributions from the provinces on page 19 and page 20. All of the provincial envelopes, funding envelopes, are redacted. How's that commercially sensitive? These are publicly available funding from the province.
Yeah. So my understanding in terms of what was redacted and not redacted is I think the amounts for all these funding envelopes were released. And
the amounts are there, but the actual programs where the monies are coming from are redacted. But these are public programs that would be available in estimates and other things. So, like, why would the programs be redacted? What's I don't understand. You said it's about being commercially sensitive. It seems to me it's inconsistent.
You have an answer. Yeah, please, Denis.
Okay. I can answer this. The redactions for the provincial breakdown of the contribution. It's not the title of the programs, but more about the locations of where that contribution will be dispersed. So which projects at which location will where the disbursement will happen.
So where the money's going is confidential, is a commercially sensitive, you determine to be commercially sensitive confidential information.
That is what, through consultation with the companies, that's...
And is that what the company requested? They requested that be confidential?
Yeah, we...
Okay.
Yeah.
So is the process that you go through, the company says we want all of these things redacted and you say yes? Or you say no, that's clearly not commercially sensitive and therefore we're not going to redact it? I guess what I'm asking is, do you have discretion internally to determine what was redacted for the committee, or was this just whatever Stellantis or which other company said, we consider this commercially sensitive, therefore it needs to be redacted?
I guess what I can answer is that, it's a back and forth discussion we have with companies on a case by case basis.
Okay.
And we play a challenge function in terms of, what a company requests to be redacted or not. And we have always in the past, and including in this case, found a reasonable landing ground in terms of what's redacted and what's not redacted.
And how many people in your department have access to these documents to determine the redactions, and what are their levels in the department?
Well, I have, in this specific case, I have the people beside me that were involved in those discussions.
That's it. No one else in the department. No one else had access to these documents than the 4 people sitting here today?
Access to the contribution agreement?
Yeah, the contribution agreement, the unredacted contribution agreement to determine the
So
redactions.
Quick answer, please.
There would be officers within the program that were involved in the negotiation and the development of these documents who would see those documents, yes. So there is a team within the department that works on all of our contribution agreements. But those are treated commercially confidential, and we don't share that information outside of the department without the consent of the company.
Mr. Patzer, please.
All right, thank you very much. So, Mr. Jennings, you're the Deputy Minister. Are you the one responsible for the redactions?
I'm not responsible for the redactions, sir.
So who was responsible for putting the black ink over all of the parts that were redacted? Who's responsible? Who's the one who crossed each line out?
So my team had direct discussions with Stellantis.
Sure, but who's the one that had the Sharpie marker in hand? And
Yeah, so Stellantis ultimately had to agree to what they were willing to have in the shared with this committee in closed doors versus what not. As the document that you have in front of you, the condition of that agreement what Stellantis had asked for is that it be shared in closed doors with this committee, and that is why the redactions were as minimal as they were.
okay, the motion from this committee asked for all the documents fully unredacted. So why did we receive redacted documents?
So if you wish, I can go through the reasons why we think it's important to protect some commercially confidential
Okay, but I'm
information.
just going to stop you quickly there because I think you've done that already with previous questions already, and in your opening remarks you already made reference to some of that. But what I am getting at is that there's 9 parliamentarians around this table. We agreed to a motion that called for unredacted documents. Ms. Goudreau did a good job of saying that in previous parliaments, there's been fully unredacted contracts put forward to this committee and possibly other committees, and done so in a manner that they could be viewed fully unredacted. How come we did not receive fully unredacted documents, much like other committees have before?
Okay, so my answer is first of all that we have a contractual obligation. So the contract clearly signs what we can release and not release, and it has to be agreed to with Stellantis. It was the first reason.
Okay, so which line in the contract stipulates that you have to have redacted contracts sent to parliamentarians?
I'll okay.
Like there's nowhere in here that said that you have the right to overstep Parliament. I didn't see that written in here. So where do you think that you have the power to disobey the will of Parliament?
It's clause 16.1, and just to be clear, I'm not trying to disobey the will of Parliament. What I'm trying to do is find a balanced way to make sure that you can do the scrutiny you wish to do and protect what's commercially confidential. And I proposed what was done in previous parliaments at both Indu Committee and Envy Committee, where we shared in closed doors very slightly redacted documents with those committees.
How many people within your department have seen this? Like, how many total people have seen this contract fully unredacted?
So I'll turn to my colleagues who may have a better estimate, but it's a handful. But I'm not sure if Stephanie or Denis would have a better number than that.
So, I mean, in addition to those of us at the table, we would have a team of, what, 2 or 3 people who would probably have
Plus if I a bit more.
maybe a couple more, because on the financial side.
How,
So a
how many?
team of
Sorry,
maybe-
I didn't quite hear you because you were turned towards
Yeah,
him.
no, I mean, I'm guessing on the size here, but I would say it's probably a team of between 4 and 6 people, in
Team of
addition to those of us at the
In
table
addition to
here.
you, so about 8 to 10 people. Okay. Mr. Bedard, I have a quick question for you and Ms. Gauthier. Clause 16.1 here, does that supersede Parliament, or does Parliament supersede 16.1?
So clause 16 in the contract is a typical confidentiality clause. Those clauses do not override the power of certain bodies, including the courts and Parliament, to compel the production of documents.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, how much time do I have?
Seconds.
I'm good, thanks.
I have to say, I am honestly shocked to hear that the department put Stellantis ahead of an order of Parliament. The idea that no one even raised the possibility of giving us the full contract is just, to me, unbelievable. And it looks like Stellantis was just, they walked over our request. And this is, it's an outrage, actually. And now we see that Stellantis can't even manage to fix an IT problem and appear here at committee to answer some of the redactions that they obviously told the department to make. So I have to ask, why would the department allow these redactions against the call of an order from this committee to allow us access to these unredacted documents?
Okay, thank you for the question. I will try to be brief and not repetitive, but just to go through a few things before. So I guess the first point, which I made in my opening remark, is that we have a contractual obligation that we signed between Canada and Stellantis. And as much as we want Stellantis to respect all those terms, we stand on more solid ground if Canada also respects all those terms. So there are terms within that contract that we think are very important at play at the moment that we want to make sure that Stellantis fully meets. Secondly, if you just maybe 1 minute, is that, you know, we also understand as we work with all these agreements and these companies that there is some commercially confidential information that we need to be able to do due diligence to go ahead and provide some investments. And we don't want to break that trust where essentially in future companies would be less likely and perhaps very constrained in terms of either sharing information that we need to do for due diligence, or secondly, not even approach us at all.
My time is very limited.
Sorry.
So, you know, what would be the justification for redacting the bottom of page notations in the amendment on Agreement 1? Like, how is that?
So I'm not sure which page you're
The
talking
bottom
about.
of page notations in Amendment Agreement 1. Can we hold while they look for that? Hold my time while they look for that? Amendment Agreement 1.
Okay. Sorry, so I actually do have an answer to that, which, sorry, I did not know before. So it's a privacy exemption for the what's noted in this bottom of those pages.
So if those, like, there were other places where you've actually left in private emails. How is this suddenly now a privacy issue?
Well, we have emails of people that work at Stellantis.
Correct. Yes.
Which through the due diligence with Stellantis and back and forth, they feel comfortable having it out there.
But you're saying this is a privacy issue. Like, so this tiny little thing at the bottom of the corner, which looks like maybe it's, someone's initials, how can that be? This personal information elsewhere has not been redacted. How is this suddenly a necessary redaction? Honestly, that Stellantis is not here, and that you're suggesting that this is all, above board privacy, personal privacy and who knows what is really quite shocking to me. This is an order that we made as a committee. All of us here said we needed these documents. And you're basically, supporting Stellantis in redactions that look completely unnecessary.
Just to clarify on that point is, under the agreement that we did sign with Stellantis, we have to consult with Stellantis, as we would for any other company we're in agreement with, to make sure we agree on what we think is commercially confidential.
But you did admit that you didn't even ask them if they would allow the whole contract to be considered.
What we discussed, which we have done successfully in past parliamentary committees, is find a compromise in terms of being able to make sure the committee can review what it needs to do its due diligence.
And yet you took the entire schedule of work fully out. Like, you took the entire schedule of work fully out. It's like, it's an core accountability mechanism. If you want to be transparent, why wouldn't you have asked them to include that?
So there is information in programs of work that actually can tip the hands to competitors in terms of what they're trying to produce.
Every word in that part? Every word in that section? Every word in that section is all completely private. Because that's how you've blacked it out. There's nothing left.
So as I said, in our discussions with Stellantis, that is what, in their assessment, needs to be protected.
So you do understand that redacting that schedule creates kind of the appearance of a deliberate cover-up?
We're in our discussions with Stellantis, we're comfortable with the redactions that they brought to this document. In our assessment, what's being released to this committee, which is supposed to be in camera, is more than would normally be released, and certainly well above what an ATEP request would release.
How much time do I have?
That is our time.
Okay.
I want to talk about something that happened in the past, something I also went through. It is perfectly legitimate to protect confidential information. We just received this document that has not been heavily redacted. So I'm wondering, this is taxpayer dollars. What about the jobs? What about the commitments? What will be the impact of the circumstances? There's a lot of information in here. And here's my question. And what I see has been redacted. See it in front of me. And I saw this with We Charity. We were with the clerk. No phones, no assistants, in camera. No notes were allowed to be taken. People voted for us so that we oversee their money. So we need to respect democracy. At the same time, we need to ensure that we do not jeopardize competitiveness, even though Stellantis is a very, very important player in this world. So give me a reason why we cannot have the complete contract in a totally closed-off environment where only selected MPs are here and present. I'd like to thank you for your question. That's the balance we're trying to strike. When we talked to Stellantis, we wanted to ensure as much openness as possible with Parliament, ensuring accountability while protecting what needs to be protected. We did not talk with Stellantis about the possibility of having the complete contract for this committee, but we can ask them if ever FCA's witness joins. We can ask them today. But that's the balance we're trying to strike. We're not trying to hide anything. But we understand and we respect the fact that there are parts in the contract that are necessary for us to be able to do our work, and that investments made by tax dollars are also held accountable. That information allows us to ensure that there's due diligence with every contract. But I understand and I agree that there are parts of the contract that are not for public eyes that can be shared with parliamentary committees so they can review documents. And that's why the goal is to ensure that it's not public. I'm not sure if Stellantis is listening to us, but we're saying you're working with taxpayer dollars. Who's the boss? Is it democracy? Is it the government? Or is it the company? I was a businesswoman. I know about contracts. Contracts here is public dollars. So what are they scared of? If they don't want us to sit down and to properly review the contract in camera. As MPs, we are just ensuring that things are held accountable to democracy and that taxpayer dollars are respected. I'm really waiting for Stellantis' answer, because information disclosure can be variable. If I understand correctly, there won't be a lot of things that will be very surprising or shocking. So I just want to say, hear Stellantis say yes, we'll be in camera, and then no electronic devices. Just like, for example, the blackout before a budget. I already went through this before. Do you think we can do that? I cannot answer this. It's not something we directly discussed with Stellantis. In the past, when we requested the production of documents, there was always a certain amount of information redacted, and the information was shared behind closed doors. The information that I shared with this committee is just to ensure that we can look at it in camera. Those are part of the conditions. And here's my point of view. There has been a limited amount of information redacted and focused on what is, according to Stellantis, commercially sensitive information. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a question. Is Stellantis coming? Because, look, we are at a dead end.
We are still having IT issues with them. I'm not going to judge, but I'm not sensing a lot of desire for them to address the IT issues. But we've contacted them, we're waiting to hear back from them, and we'll keep at it.
Moi, Monsieur le Président,
Look, they can come see us. But how is it that it takes an agreement with third parties to disclose a contract signed with public dollars and not all the numbers are provided? We understand the issue of commercial sensitive information. We just need Stellantis' green light, and then we can end the meeting, and then we schedule something that's unredacted, and then we can really get down to business. Because now we're taking 2 hours, and we all agree that it is our parliamentary privilege to see contracts completely. Now, in the negotiations, maybe there will be clauses that will not be there. because we want to honor those clauses. But at the end of the day, it's taxpayer dollars, so we don't have a choice. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chair, I'm just waiting after Stellantis. I cannot accept the fact that this company has all the cards with the amount of money and the amount of jobs. Right now, we're talking about redacted information, but we want to ask questions. I have 30 seconds left, but look, I'm waiting for Stellantis here.
It's stupefying that they would not participate.